And there we have it, folks. The final two teams of AFCON have been decided. Senegal versus Morocco. What a match it's going to be. Couldn't have scripted it any better. Arguably the two best teams on the African continent as of now. So it should be a great game. But before we get into that, let's get into the semi-finals and what it took for these two teams to get to where they are today. So on the Senegalese side, in the first game of the semi-finals, we had Egypt versus Senegal. Now I think for most people this was a sure bet that Senegal was going to win this one. I don't know if it was the coach or who it was, but he clearly didn't trust his players on the ball, and he said, you know what, let's just do what we did against Ivory Coast and hope for the best. So for the entire game, all we saw was Egypt just defend, and Senegal was doing all the attacking. And I think there was a clear difference between Ivory Coast and Senegal for the Egyptians. The Senegalese were a lot sharper, and it looked like what they had was a lot more chemistry. You know, the passes were just zinging back and forth, and even when Egypt tried to press, it didn't work because the Senegalese were just that much more switched on. And in the end, many would say it was a lucky goal by Mane, but I think you create your own luck, and Senegal definitely did that the entire game. You know, they were the only ones chancing their hand, trying to create opportunities, cross it in. And I think Egypt were just doing the good old Egyptian thing of park the bus and hope that this can go to penalties just like it did 4 years ago. But Senegal today is different from 4 years ago. This team was much more potent going forward and defensively very strong, as we saw when Koulibaly left the game with an injury. I can't remember who replaced him, but he did not miss a beat and, you know, just did his job. And then on the left hand side you had El Hadji Diouf. He had Salah in his pocket, and on the right side Crepin, who's very fast, and you know, you could see that he was very capable of dealing with Marmoush. And overall I think it was a good job defensively by Egypt, but at the end of the day there's only so much defending you can do. You know, this is a semi-final. You got to go out there to win, not try not to lose. I think the Egyptians definitely need to be more realistic about their chances at AFCON. I think they're definitely living in the glory days of the past and not waking up to 2025. You know, it's not 2010, it's 2025. The Moroccans, the Algerians, the Senegalese, the Nigerians, the Ivorians, even though you beat them, the Cameroon team. You know, I think all these teams, I may be missing a couple, but I think all these teams have surpassed Egypt. You can't just keep living on those 7 titles, you know. You're never going to add to them if you don't assess what's wrong. Can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So yeah, they got to lick their wounds and get up for the World Cup, and they definitely got to change some things, otherwise they're not going to make it out the group stage. And on the Senegalese side, you know, Senegal is just a very disciplined team. I think one thing that made it hard for Egypt was whenever they went forward and lost the ball, everyone worked back, especially the wingers. On the Ivorian side, I don't think they were working back as hard, which is what allowed Egypt to score that first goal and the third goal. And definitely the better team won. And now they go on to face Morocco, who played Nigeria. Although it wasn't as one-sided as Morocco versus Cameroon, I definitely think Morocco played on their terms for most of this match. I'm not sure why, but the Nigerian midfield was completely out of sync with the forward line. Like, Osimhen did not get any ball, and he's the type of player where all he needs is a half chance. He didn't even have quarter chances. And then when you're coming up against a team like Morocco, you just got to give your best players a chance, and I thought Nigeria didn't do that. Outside of Iwobi, I thought the midfield just was not getting good ball and lots of clumsy mistakes, and Akor Adams looked a bit heavy out there on the wing, especially coming up against the Moroccan wing backs, who left back and right back, who were just world class, as you know. And I think it just showed in the end. Morocco were just better on the day, and I know it went to penalties, but they deserve to win, you know, which I think is what makes this final such an intriguing one. And I think it's going to be a great final, one for the ages, and I think it will go to penalties again. But there will be goals scored. I think it will be 1-1 at the end of 120, and it will go to penalties, and Senegal will win.